Hey guys, this is Daniel with Connecting the Gap podcast. There is a story in the Bible that I don't know if you are aware of or that you've ever heard of it. So you've heard of Moses in the Bible and what all he did when he led the Israelites out of Egypt and led them through the wilderness and was their deliverer basically. But have you ever heard when the Lord tried to kill Moses? I didn't know if you'd ever heard that story or not. In Exodus chapter 4, there is 3 verses that are smashed in there towards the end of that chapter. And what's weird is verse 23, which is the verse before these little 3 verses, has nothing to do with 24, 25, or 26. And when you get to 27, it takes off on a whole other subject matter. It's like there's a little rabbit trail stuck right in there between verses 23 and 27. And what happened in those 3 verses is the Lord literally came to a point where he was going to kill Moses after he called Moses to deliver his people from Egypt. So let's look at that real quick for today. In Exodus chapter 4, it's verses 24 to 26. It says, "At a lodging place on the way, the Lord met him and sought to put him to death. Then Zipporah, who is Moses' wife, she took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched Moses' feet with it and said, 'Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me.' So he let them alone, which is the Lord. It was then that she said, 'A bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision.'" And then when you get to verse 27, it takes off on talking about Aaron. It's just really weird how it's stuck right in there. But you know, there's some little nuggets that we can pull out of what happened here. And I know it probably sounds really weird to you and you probably don't understand, so I'm going to explain this to you real quick. Here the Lord meets Moses on a journey to Egypt and attempts to kill him because he failed to circumcise his son. Now, this incident can be understood in a historical context by examining the significance of circumcision to the Israelite culture. Circumcision was a central ritual of the Israelite people, and it dated all the way back to the covenant between God and Abraham in Genesis chapter 17. It was a physical sign of the Israelites' commitment to their covenant with God and that they had a status as God's chosen people. Failure to circumcise a male child was a very serious offense in the Israelite culture, and it could result in being completely cut off from the community. This was a covenant that was between God and the Israelites. So here in the case of Moses, his son's lack of circumcision may have been seen as a violation of the covenant and a lack of respect for God's commands. He was disrespecting God by not doing what was required by this covenant. So by attempting to kill Moses, the Lord was likely expressing displeasure with what Moses did and the neglect of this crucial aspect of the Israelite identity. So here in Exodus chapter 4, verse 25, Zipporah cuts off the foreskin and then she touches Moses' feet with the foreskin, or some scholars say that she might have taken the foreskin and just threw it down at his feet after she circumcised her son. This act is a response to an impending threat of Moses' life from God, who was about to kill him for not circumcising his son. Zipporah's action of touching Moses' feet with the foreskin or throwing it at his feet, whatever she did, this has been interpreted in various ways by biblical scholars and commentators. Some suggest that it may be a symbolic pronouncing a curse or expressing her anger from the situation. Others believe that it was a gesture of hastily completing the circumcision and using the foreskin as a substitute for blood to satisfy the requirements of the covenant. Others say that she was just flat out mad because her hubby was lazy and didn't do what he was supposed to do, and she ended up having to do it. Those of you that are married, we've probably been in that situation before where us or our spouse has irritated each other because we didn't do something we were supposed to, and the next thing, the other spouse did it, and then they held it over our head for an eternity after that. But the exact meaning of Zipporah's action remains somewhat ambiguous. We don't really know. But it is clear that her quick thinking and her willingness to perform the circumcision of their son ultimately saved Moses' life. Her intervention prevented God's wrath from being unleashed on Moses and allowed him to continue his mission to deliver the Israelites out of the clutches of Egypt. So there's some lessons that can be extracted out of this little story, as short as it is. One lesson that can be extracted is the importance of obedience to God and his commands and the adherence of believing in the word and to follow what the Bible tells us to do. In this passage, Moses faced the consequence of neglecting to circumcise his son, which was a crucial commandment in the Israelite culture. The incident serves as a reminder of the significance of following God's instructions and upholding the traditions that defines our faith. Also, the passage emphasizes the role of quick thinking and action in responding to the challenges and the crisis. Zipporah, her swift intervention and willingness to go ahead and carry out this circumcision saved Moses from the wrath of God and allowed him to continue his mission. This can also serve as a lesson for us as believers to be proactive in addressing issues that may arise in our spiritual lives and not being lazy in our Christian walk, because sometimes we like to be lazy and not do things that we're supposed to, and take prompt action in upholding our faith. This story teaches the importance of obedience, listening to God's voice and doing what He says, and the value of quick thinking and responding to challenges that we may face. By applying these principles in our lives today, we can deepen our relationship with God and we can strengthen our faith on this journey that we have with Him. So I just want to drop in here today and just give you a little connecting the gap short, I guess you could say. It's a neat little scripture, and I think it's got some pretty cool applications in it. And I didn't know if you ever knew that Moses was going to be killed by the Lord or not. So I thought it'd be cool to share that with you guys today. Well, hope you guys enjoyed that, and make sure you apply some of these lessons out of this little story in your life, and you can't go wrong. What God says that we need to do, we need to follow God's plan and do what He tells us to do. Well, I'm Daniel Moore with Connecting the Gap podcast. I will talk to you guys later.